Hello everyone, welcome to Mathematics with Mr. Khumalo. Please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get notified when I drop the next video. In this video, I am going to help you understand fractions, and we are also going to look at the addition and subtraction of fractions with the same denominator. Without wasting time, let's take a look. Right, before we go further, firstly we need to understand what is a fraction. Now, a fraction is a part of a whole. A fraction is a part of a whole. So on the board, I have what we call a fraction wall, and we are going to complete it up to quarters. Now, before we go into that, let's look at the first part and let's call this our cake. So now I am having one whole cake. So one whole cake to myself, but then if you look at the second part of my cake, so still the same cake, but now I have a friend that I need to share my cake with. So I need to cut the cake into two equal parts, which we call halves. So now if I cut my cake into two equal parts, that means I'm going to get half of the cake and my friend is going to get a half of the same cake. So these fractions form part of a whole. So a fraction is part of a whole because a half and a half gives you 1. Right, now let's assume there are 3 of us. Now if there are 3 of us, now we need to cut the cake into 3 equal parts. That means I am now going to get a third of the cake. My one friend is going to get a third of the cake, and the other friend is going to get a third of the cake. If you add the fractions together, a third plus a third plus a third is going to give you 1 whole. So this is still the same cake, but it has now been cut into 3 equal parts. Now, assuming for the last time here, we have 4 of us, or there are 4 friends. So now I'm going to cut the cake into 4 equal parts. So now I cut the 4 into equal parts. That means each of us is going to receive or get a quarter of the cake. Now, if you look at this very well, you will begin to notice that as the denominator becomes bigger, as my denominator becomes bigger, the fraction or the pieces are becoming smaller. So as there are more friends that I need to share my cake with, the piece that I'm going to get or receive is becoming smaller. That is why I don't share my cake with anyone, because I know that the more people I need to share my cake with, the smaller piece I'm going to get. I'm just kidding. But anyway, we can see that as the denominator becomes bigger, the piece is becoming smaller. So a quarter is smaller than a third is smaller than a half, and a half is smaller than a whole, or 1 whole, as you may say. So here we have halves, here we have thirds, here we have quarters, and it continues so on and on. So our next denominator would be 5. My next denominator after 5 would be 6. So what is the denominator telling me? The denominator is telling me into how many equal parts did I cut my cake into, or did I divide my cake into. So now if we look here, for example again, 2/7 or 2/7, as you may mathematically want to say it. A fraction has what we call a numerator. A numerator is the number on top, and we also have what we call a denominator, and a denominator is the number on the bottom. In this numerator, we can see that the numerator, which is the number on top, is smaller than the denominator. We can see that the numerator, which is the number on top, is smaller than the denominator, which is the number on the bottom, and we refer to this as our. But sometimes we have a numerator fraction, a numerator. Sometimes we have bigger numerator, denominator. So the numerator will be having which was bigger than the denominator. So then here we'll be having what we call. Now that we understand the basics of fraction, let's take a look at our first examples whereby we now add the basics of fractions. Let's take a look at our first examples whereby we need to add or subtract fractions with the same denominators. Right. Now looking at these two examples on the board, we have a fraction that contains addition and a fraction that contains subtraction. Now the rule when you are adding or subtracting fractions is that the denominators need to be the same. So when you are adding or subtracting fractions, the denominators need to be the same. And we will do another video in which the denominators are not the same, because when the denominators are not the same, you first need to make them the same and then you can continue with your sum. So now looking at these two examples, we can see that the denominators are, because the denominators are the same, then in our answer the denominator stays the same, and then we just apply our operation. So 5 plus 2 gives me 7. That means now I have 7 tenths. If we look at the second one, we need to subtract. The denominators are the same, so the denominator is going to remain the same in my answer. Then I can apply my operation. 7 minus 3 gives me 4. 4 quarters, which is equals to 1. So the first and basic and the main thing is that your denominators firstly need to be the same, and if they are not the same, you need to make them the same, and then you can apply your operation. So in these two examples, we can see that the denominators are the same on the left and the right hand side, so the denominator stays the same in my answer. The denominator is the same on the left and the right hand side fraction, so then we can go ahead and keep the denominator the same in our answer, and then we just apply our operation. Let's look at adding and subtracting fractions if the denominators are still the same, but we are now having what we call a mixed number. So now, first of all, what is a mixed number? So a mixed number is a combination of a whole number and a fraction. Right, in the following example, we're still having fractions with the same denominators, except that now we are adding and subtracting fractions that have what we call a mixed number. So what is a mixed number? A mixed number is a combination of a whole number and a fraction. A combination of a whole number and a fraction. A combination of a whole number and a fraction, and so on. That is what we call a mixed number. So now, I'm going to be doing these two using two different methods which can be applied with both. Now, the first thing is, again, we need to check and make sure that the denominators are the same, and then we can go and apply our operation. So now, here we are having 5 plus 1. So we can go ahead and say 5 plus 1 is equals to 6. So 5 plus 1 is equals to 6. And I'm left with 3/5 plus 2/5 over here. Right, so I've added my whole numbers together. Now I can go and add the fractions. So my denominator is the same. So that means in my answer, the denominator is going to stay the same. So now I can go and apply my operation. 3 plus the 2 over here gives me 5. Since 5 over 5 is equals to 1, so that means 6 plus 1 is equals to 7. Now looking at my second example, I can go ahead and apply the same method. But now in the second one, I'm going to apply a different method. So first of all, we are going to convert the mixed number to an improper fraction, and then we can go ahead and apply our operation. But before we go there, how do we convert a mixed number to an improper fraction? So first of all, looking at this one, you multiply the denominator with the whole number, and then you add the numerator. So I am going to say 9 multiplied by 3 plus 2, the denominator stays the same. Doing the same on the right hand side, or on my right hand side fraction, I'm going to say 9 multiplied by 2 plus 1, and the denominator stays the same. So this is how we convert a mixed number to an improper fraction. You can do the same over there and you will still get to the same answer. So 9 times 3 gives us 27. 27 plus 2 gives us 29. So we basically have 29 over 9 minus 9 times 2 here gives us 18. 18 plus 1 gives us 19 over 9. And then if we go ahead and now subtract, we are going to say 29 minus 19 gives us 10. And the denominator remains or stays the same. As you can see, the answer that we have here is what we call an improper fraction, because the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So sometimes you are asked to simplify the answer, or you are asked to write the answer in simple terms or form. So you can go and convert from an improper fraction to a mixed number again. So how do we convert from an improper fraction to a mixed number? So looking at this as an example, I can also say 9 goes into 10 how many times? 9 goes into 10 once, and how many is left? You are left with 1. And the denominator stays the same. So just to repeat that, sometimes you are asked to write the answer in a simpler form, so you can go and write an improper fraction as a mixed number again. So you say 9 goes into 10 how many times? 9 goes into 10 once, and the remainder is 1. Your denominator stays the same. So you have 1 and 1/9 as an answer. So you can apply any of the two methods when you are adding or subtracting fractions, and you will get to the same answer. We have come to the end of the video. Please like, share, and remember, practice makes improvement.